and emerging opportunities.
The City of Vaughan is so proud to support the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, an incredible organization that's been an outstanding partner in helping to foster the city's economic growth. And as a member of the Chamber, you're going to benefit from important initiatives to support our vibrant and thriving business community. The City of Vaughan is so proud of the over 11,900 businesses that call our city home. The Chamber of Commerce is here to help you set up your business for success.
Come check out what's happening in the Vaughan business community. Join the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce and get involved, because together we're stronger.
Good afternoon, everybody. What an incredible group of business leaders we have here with us today. It's an absolute pleasure for me to welcome so many familiar faces in the room to Vaughan's first large corporate gathering this year. If this is your first time at the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, welcome. A special thank you goes out today to our presenting sponsor, Fazarian Partners, for their continued support. Their commitment to Vaughan's business community is deeply valued, and we are grateful for their partnership in making today's event possible. I'd also like to thank them for providing all of us here today with a special dessert. These desserts are peanut-free, and they are made by a local Vaughan business, oh so sweet. So thank you, Fazarian, for providing these, and everybody can take home a dessert. Our city's true strength lies in its people, resilient, innovative, and overcoming adversity. As we gather in celebration of all we've achieved, we also must recognize the challenges that lie ahead. The truth is, owning and operating a business in today's world is not easy. We are navigating an era of risk. Market shifts, policies evolve, and new challenges emerge. Talent shortages, and yet here in Vaughan, where the business stability is the foundation of success, uncertainty has become our constant companion, our new reality. However, here's what I know. This community has faced darker times, and we have always risen above. The fact that over 800 of you are here today, despite the challenges surrounding your business, is a testament to the strength, resilience, and firm commitment of Vaughan's business community. Vaughan has a history of rising above, and we will continue that legacy. Each time, we have emerged stronger, more united, and more determined than ever. The Vaughan Chamber thrives on strong partnerships. We don't see each other as competitors, but rather as collaborators. We share resources, ideas, and networks because we know that together we're unstoppable. Our success is built on the strength of our unity, turning Vaughan into a thriving hub of innovation and business excellence. But commitment to each other extends beyond commerce. Vaughan's businesses give back. They invest in their employees, support local charities, and actively contribute to the well-being of our entire community. This spirit of giving is not just reflected in our chamber, but in the very heart of our board of directors, many of whom are here with us today. I'd like to introduce some of our board of directors. Belinda Rossi, board chair at Miller Thompson. Luigi DeRose, PwC. Rajni Tekerwal, Tekerwal Law Professional Corporation. Tina DeVito, Fiorentina CPA Professional Corporation. Rose Femia, Fazarian Partners. Mary Grace Tutangelo, M Commercial. And Andrea DeGasperis Ronco, Opus Homes. These leaders, representing diverse industries, provide invaluable guidance and strategic direction for our chamber. More importantly, they act as your voice at the chamber, ensuring that everything we do Every program, every service, and every event is built with your success in mind. Please join me in a round of applause to our incredible Vaughan Chamber Board of Directors. The Vaughan Chamber is the city's largest business convener, known for our successful conferences, forums, and networking, but our main focus remains you, our members. We're here to connect, advocate, and support your growth. So as we welcome Mayor Del Duca today, let's take a moment to recognize our united strength, our perseverance, our firm dedication to moving Vaughan forward, a city on the move. I would now like to introduce today's presenting sponsor, who are no strangers to this community. Fazzari & Partners was founded in 1988. Frank Fazzari has led the firm to provide more conventional accounting services with his work including advisory, mergers and acquisitions, and litigation support services. Their expertise and unwavering commitment to their clients' success have set them apart. They have been a proud supporter of the Vaughan Chamber Mayor's Luncheon now for 10 years and of Vaughan Chamber of Commerce members for over 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the video screens to hear from today's presenting sponsor.
Vaughan Partners is an 8-partner accounting firm in Vaughan that offers clients specialized services in taxation, accounting, business advisory, forensic accounting, valuations, and accounting firm support for smaller firms. We help clients throughout Canada, the United States, and Europe with their personal and business accounting requirements. Since the firm's establishment in 1988, we have grown significantly. We now have over 30 employees with more than 175 years combined experience, providing expert advice to public, private, and not-for-profit organizations, as well as individuals and families. The expertise we have developed over the years spans a broad range of industries, including manufacturing, distribution, construction, real estate development, and service providers. Fazzari & Partners is also the auditor of record for many not-for-profit organizations. Our deep knowledge and understanding of client issues and requirements enables us to provide them with the guidance they need when they need it. For more information, please visit fazzaripartners.com.
Welcome, everyone. Jennifer, I'd just like to say thank you. And you know, today's Groundhog Day in Vaughan, and let me explain. 3 years ago, we were at this event and there was a snowstorm outside. And so that year we dealt with the completion or the end of COVID, and it was crazy. The whole year was a crazy year. Last year was a gray day, so it was a very subtle year in terms of business and opportunities. This year, it's a sunny day. That means despite all the economic uncertainty, the geopolitical situation, I think we're going to have a great year. So thanks for bringing the sunshine. Colleagues, partners, friends, welcome to the 2025 Vaughan Chamber of Commerce Annual Mayor's Luncheon. Fazzari & Partners is proud to once again be the presenting sponsor for this keynote event. Today marks our 10th year, as Jennifer noted, of collaborating with the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce to deliver the annual Mayor's Luncheon, which connects our community leaders with our engaged business community. Mayor Del Duca's strong and stable leadership, along with his fellow council members, ensures that our city remains a resilient beacon of growth in the region, the province, and the country, despite navigating economic uncertainties such as tariffs. As a fact, Vaughan continues to be the economic engine of York Region, contributing over 1/3 of the region's economic output and employment while consistently outperforming municipalities across the country. We punch more than our weight. We have a population of 334,000 individuals, and the region has a population of 1.25 million individuals. And again, we contribute to 1/3 of the region's economic output. So thank you to everybody and the strong leadership that we have. Thank you, Mayor Del Duca, for being a champion of our business community alongside members of Vaughan City Council, boldly advancing progressive policies, strategies, and resolutions, such as reducing development charges by nearly 50%, putting shovels in the ground and boosting construction progress across the city, creating affordable opportunities for citizens and businesses. To me, that's economic leadership. recently deferred development charges to expedite the creation of a much needed 256-bed provincial local long-term care facility, getting shovels in the ground this fall and boosting the local economy with nearly 400 construction jobs. That to me is strategic leadership. Enhancing public safety with the creation of 2 New York region police substations in the VMC and Kleinburg. To me, that takes proactive leadership. Delivering on the vision for a rich cultural base in the Vaughan Metropolitan Center with the announcement of a cultural and performing arts center that is estimated to contribute more than $100 million in construction activity and more than $2.5 million in annual revenues to the community. To me, that's profound leadership. You know, I picked those words, to be honest with you: economic leadership, strategic leadership, proactive leadership, and profound leadership, using my own knowledge and AI. To be honest with you, I ran these things through AI, and they came to the same conclusion. We know our mayor is doing great things here. Mayor Stephen Del Duca and members of council are achieving all this while keeping taxes low and maximizing every dollar spent to ensure Vaughan remains a place where people and businesses can succeed. They are doing it for us, and we can't thank them enough. Vaughan is truly unmatched, and as we work together, the future looks bright. There are challenges, but it's bright. As an aside, all of us, including Fazarian Partners and our vibrant Chamber of Commerce, should continue to support our mayor and Vaughan Council in helping them achieve our shared goal of enhancing our local economy. With that, at this time, I welcome my friend, our mayor, Stephen Del Duca, for his 2025 economic update. Thank you.
Sort of the first municipality really to come out hard against the protests that were taking place outside of schools and places of worship.
I think we have to stand up to all forms of hate. It has to stop, and we need all leaders to step up and do the right thing.
Mayor Del Duca, he actually dropped the DC's development charges by 50%. I think it's a no-brainer, and congratulations to Mayor Del Duca.
City's Mayor Stephen Del Duca joins us here in the studio for more.
We took it from $94,000 down to about $50,000, so we basically cut it in half. It's easy to lead when times are good and there are no challenges on the horizon. But in life, we don't get to choose the nature of the circumstances we face. We only get to respond. I'm sure you've heard the saying, hard times create strong people. Well, Vaughan is home to tens of thousands of strong people who show up, face tough challenges head on, and get the job done every single day. In uncertain and unsettling times, our community needs strong, stable, and experienced leadership that reflects the best of us, that is bold and decisive, that inspires a renewed sense of confidence that we can deliver results, and that protects our interests today so that everyone's tomorrow is better. We're reminding ourselves and the world that we are proud Canadians who will neither give in nor give up when the chips are down and the stakes are high. So as a community, let's take this opportunity to double down on what has always made Vaughan exceptional. Let's continue investing in our people and their quality of life. Let's tackle traffic gridlock by actually getting shovels in the ground to build the new roads we need. Let's reduce the cost of home ownership and make it easier to get housing built. Let's do everything we can to get criminals off our streets and keep them in jail where they belong. And let's support our businesses and our business owners with new procurement policies that put local jobs first. This is not the time for empty promises and endless talk. It's a time to do what we do best. Work hard, dream big, and achieve. We are Vaughan, home to dedicated, resilient, ambitious, and hard-driving people who simply won't accept second best. We are Vaughan, a city on the move, and together, nothing will slow us down. Well, thank you so very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It is such a delight, such an honor for me to be back here at this incredible podium, at this wonderful annual event that I so very much look forward to, and to look out across this room and to see more than 800 people, many of whom I've had the honor of knowing for many years, people who every single day of the week put their shoulders to the wheel, take calculated risks, invest of themselves, bring forward their ingenuity, their innovation, and their creativity, and at the same time, match that with their generosity is something nothing short of remarkable. And so I want to begin by thanking each and every one of you for being here today, for honoring me and our Chamber of Commerce and members of Council with your presence and with the incredible, incredible achievements that collectively you brought to bear in Vaughan, the greatest city in Canada. Thank you very much. Now, I do have some individuals I know, many of whom have already been acknowledged, but I did want to take just a quick moment to say thank you. Beyond that broad, comprehensive thank you I mentioned just a moment ago, or I shared just a moment ago, there are a number of people and organizations, of course, starting with our Chamber of Commerce itself. Jennifer, you and your team, Belinda, you and the entire board, many who are here today will know that every time I get the chance, every time I'm at this podium, at this event, or at any event where I have the opportunity to extol the virtues, the infinite virtues of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, I never shy away from doing so. And that's not just because I believe in local boosterism, though I do, and it's not just because I'm a little bit biased because, well, I am the mayor of Vaughan, but that's true too. It is because objectively I've had the opportunity throughout my political career to engage with boards of trade and Chamber of Commerce from every corner of this province, and I hope you fully understand. Here in our city, the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce does in fact stand head and shoulders above all others, and that is thanks to the incredible team that is assembled to work for the Chamber, to believe in the Chamber, and to be so strong in support of businesses and entrepreneurship right here in our city. Thank you so much to the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce. Now, Frank, to you, of course, and through you, to Fazarian Partners, such an incredible organization that has done so much here in our community. I didn't realize until you said it that this was your 10th year of being the principal and primary sponsor of this particular event. Frank, we've known each other for quite some time, and I have never seen an individual who is so determined to continue to support philanthropy in our city, of course, to help build his own business, to help support so much entrepreneurship and innovation right across Vaughan, and someone who really does believe in family values. In fact, if I could just take a quick moment to say that as far as I know, Frank Fazzari and his incredible wife, Mary Tatangelo, are the only husband and wife duo that have received the Order of Vaughan, and deservedly so. Thank you very much for your leadership and your support. I do want to thank my council colleagues. It's 2.5 years, just give or take. I got to tell you, the 10 of us, I believe, are working so well together. That doesn't mean in a democracy that we agree on every single issue every single day of the week. We're not supposed to. There is supposed to be a dynamic, productive, respectful, and constructive clash of ideas from time to time. That does occur. But I will tell you at the end of the day, the 10 women and men who serve on Vaughan Council do share one goal. And that goal is to deliver for the people of this community, the people we are honored to represent, the community that we love so much. So whether it's the newcomers like myself and some of the others, or the veterans who've helped show us the way and guide us, it is an extraordinary council, and I'm honored to work with every single one of them. Thank you very much to my council colleagues. I know Regional Chair Eric Jolliffe is here. Chair Jolliffe has been in this role now for a relatively short period of time, but many in the room will know that he is an individual who has had a lifelong commitment to community service and to giving back, of course, as a former Chief of Police right here in York Region. Chair Jolliffe, thank you so much for your leadership, for always stepping up, and for serving now with such distinction as our new York Region Chair. Thank you very much. Members of Parliament, Anna Roberts and Francesco Serrera, thank you so much for both being here and for serving two different parts of our incredible community. Vaughan Woodbridge, my home riding where I live, and of course Anna King Vaughan. It's great to see you both here. Thank you for always taking the time. In addition to your representation in Ottawa for our community, both of these individuals, and frankly all of our members of Parliament and members of provincial Parliament, come out on a regular basis to support our community, support our events, and we are truly blessed in Vaughan for a multitude of reasons, but in particular because I want to assure all of you that every level of government, regardless of partisan stripe, is always doing our best, collectively, to work together for the community. Anna, thank you. Francesco, thank you as well. Very much appreciated. I promise I'm almost at the end of the thank yous, and then I'll get into the heart of my speech. But I just wanted to thank the three individuals and the organizations that they represent who are sitting at our head table in uniform. I truly, truly, truly never ever tire of talking about how the first responders that we have here in the city of Vaughan really, really are the very best. Whether that's Vaughan Fire and Rescue Service, York Regional Police, or York Region Paramedic Services, everywhere I go, every time I'm at a microphone or at a podium, and I mention that any one of these three organizations to our broader community, I have to tell you, there is such an outpouring of genuine affection for the incredible work that these women and men do to keep us safe and to keep our community moving in the right direction. A big round of applause for York Regional Police, Vaughan Fire and Rescue, and York Region Paramedic. We're very, very fortunate in Vaughan to be served by a public service that is unmatched. I see our city manager, Zoran Postic, who is here, along with many, many other members, deputy city managers, directors, and so many right across the full spectrum. I've had the honor throughout, again, my political career to work with many who have chosen public service as their vocation. And I will tell you, not unlike the Chamber of Commerce, the individual women and men who step forward to work for the city of Vaughan and to make sure that we are delivering exceptional service for our residents and for our businesses, again, are unmatched. Thank you, Zoran, to you, and through you to the rest of the team who do serve our city every single day of the week. Much, much appreciated. And the second last thank you. I mentioned the city staff. I do also want to pay quick tribute to my own staff in the mayor's office. Najwa, Amin, Julia, Anna, Francesca, Gazal. I am so lucky. I've been lucky throughout my entire political journey to always be supported by people who go above and beyond. I'm a former political staffer from a long time ago. It is not an easy job, especially when you work for someone who can be occasionally a bit hard driving. Not that I'm calling myself that, but those who know me best might say it's true. So to my own team, thank you very much for everything that you do for me and for our city. Thank you. And to my final thank you, I want to take just a brief moment to say that my wife Utilia is here today. And I'm not going to make eye contact with her, because if I do, I will see that I will be in very deep trouble for the things that I want to say and will say. I've said this before from this podium and at other events. Utilia is such an extraordinary individual, as someone who really does keep our family, well, keeps me grounded, that's for sure, but certainly keeps our family together and makes sure that our young daughters, who will soon be 18 and 14, which is a remarkable thing for me to consider, have an unparalleled mentor and inspiration and someone who they truly can look up to. Utilia is an individual who, through some of the most difficult times in life that one can imagine, like so many in this room, has never turned away from the challenge. She's always stepped up. She has, despite so many reasons not to, loved me so much since the day that we met, which was March 24th of 2003. And I want to let you in on another little secret that I will get in lots of trouble for. Tomorrow is Utilia's birthday. So, I am not going to ask 800 people to sing happy birthday. I'm not. I just heard that. I am not going to ask 800 people to sing happy birthday, but, well, go for it. There we go. Happy birthday. Wow. If anybody has a spare bedroom that I could sleep in tonight, I would much appreciate that. In any event, Utilia, thank you so much for everything and for loving me. I love you very much, and you are an incredible partner. Okay, some in the room who have had the chance to hear me speak over the last year or so will know that I very often now begin my remarks with a bit of a dad joke. I don't have a dad joke ready for today, unless you really want to hear one. Okay. And I didn't plan this one. This is just one that popped into my head as I was coming up onto the stage this afternoon. Okay. As it turns out, a bunch of world-leading archaeologists uncovered a treasure trove of pencils that were genuinely and authentically used at one point in history by none other than William Shakespeare. Here's the problem. Because those pencils had been chewed on so much, those experts could not determine if they were to be or not to be. Thank you. I actually had Elvira going on that one for a second. She was like, wow. Okay, so I know that many of you come to this event every year, not just during my time as mayor. This is my third time at this particular event delivering these kinds of remarks as a bit of an update on where our city finds itself. But I know many of you have been to this event even in past years, and one of the things that will very often happen at an event like this is that the mayor will come up with something by way of some sort of big splashy announcement. And I mean, I look forward to that when that is, even when I attended these events before I became mayor. And for example, last year, as was mentioned earlier, when we announced that we will be moving forward with the building of a performing and cultural arts center in the VMC, big announcement. The year before that, some of you will recall, was my first time at this podium after being elected as mayor, and I had highlighted the 10-year, 9-point action plan to fight traffic gridlock that was the core part of my campaign platform, the transportation projects that I really felt and still really feel would get our city moving or keep our city moving. So important for business, so important for our quality of life. This year I'm taking a different approach, and I hope you'll bear with me. There is no splashy announcement. That's not because we're not doing exceptional things in the city of Vaughan, some of which I will touch upon, but it's more about the moment that we find ourselves in as a community, as a province, as a country, some of which both Jennifer and Frank and the videos alluded to. I think it's fair to say that we all recognize that the last 5 years, again, not unique to Vaughan, the last 5 years, in many respects across the country, the continent, the globe, have been sort of marked by a consistent theme touching on this notion of disruption. If you think about it, it was just about 5 years ago this month, the beginning of March 2020, when we as a province and as a country had to deal with the very first broad lockdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then through the next couple of years, despite the best efforts of so many, as we made progress and yes, ultimately got to a good point, the end point, if I can put it that way, of that horrible, horrible pandemic that disrupted so much. But that was 2 years of making progress and falling backwards, and businesses facing some difficult times, families, our kids who are, again, nearly 18 and 14, 5 years ago, obviously much younger, trying to navigate the school system, not easy for educators, not easy for our kids, our healthcare system under such incredible duress. We got through that, and I think many of us, me included, figured this is fantastic, we've come through it. And despite the tragic loss of life as a result of that, and those who got sick, we are stronger, we are better, we are ready to move forward, we've demonstrated our resilience, we know how to accomplish great things, and all of those are true. And I think if you track back 5 or 6 months, and you think to end of October, very beginning of November of 2024, I don't think anyone in this room would have necessarily guessed, regardless of what the American electorate decided to do, whether they chose Donald Trump as they did or someone else. I don't think any one of us could have predicted that the next number of months would be as directly disruptive and potentially tumultuous for Canada and for Ontario and for Vaughan as these last 4 or 5, 6 months have been. So I've been thinking about this an awful lot as mayor, but also again as a dad. And I want to talk a little bit today about where we find ourselves as a community and do a slightly, I'll say, deeper dive or examination of what I call the twin risks or threats, but also the opportunities that go along with those risks and threats. One is a little more tangible. One is something that, of course, this audience will be very familiar with. It's economic in nature. The other is a little bit more esoteric, a little more existential. But I will tell you before I get to it that the second half of what I want to talk about, I feel very, very deeply and very, very much about, and I think a lot about it as well. And in addition, by the way, to the re-election of Donald Trump and what's flowed as a result of that vis-a-vis Canada and our economics and our potential risk to sovereignty. We also know here in our own country and in our province, the people of Ontario will choose a government tomorrow. We know that we've been, of course, in the midst of a roughly four-week provincial election campaign. We know that we, both those who have an active role in this next process and those who will very likely soon thereafter have an active role, that in the next number of weeks, we will have a new Prime Minister in this country. I mention these things not to wade into anything close to partisanship. I mention this because it's a very fascinating time, this environment that we find ourselves in. Risks and curveballs coming from south of the border, from a country that has been for so many decades, centuries in fact, one of our largest, if not largest, trading partners and strongest allies and neighbors, while we are going through potential upheaval on the domestic front at a political level. I'm an optimist by nature. You will hear me say that several times likely in today's remarks. But we have to be aware at all times of the challenges that lie in front of us and the risks that we have to address. So let's talk at the beginning, or let me start with the economic threat. And again, this was alluded to just a moment ago. We know, you all know, top of mind for pretty much everybody these days is what's happening with the tariffs. Now, it's been a couple of months since we first heard of this threat. I know that we've kind of seen this song before. In his first term, President Trump took his country and ultimately our country and Mexico down a bit of a tortured path to renegotiate our continental free trade agreement. We obviously ended up in I think a good spot through some exceptional work done across so many different industries and the three countries themselves. At that point in time, I had the honor of serving as Ontario's Minister of Economic Development and Growth. That gave me an opportunity briefly to be in Mexico City and to Washington, D.C. and New York City to help play a very small part in advancing Ontario's case to our friends south of the border. I think one of the things that's most important to business and those who want to invest and grow their businesses in a city like ours is having stability and certainty. Of course, the last couple of months, it's been anything but that. First the tariffs were coming, then they've been delayed. Then a couple of days later it was steel and aluminum, then maybe it's something else. Now maybe they're coming March 4th, now maybe they're not. I'm not an entrepreneur. I never started or run my own business. I can't imagine how difficult it is for those of you, many in this room who I'm looking at right now, who have to make these critically important decisions. I can't imagine how difficult it is for you to gauge what's happening and to be ready to absorb, be nimble enough to absorb those challenges as they come forward. Now, I am someone who does believe in the indomitable spirit of our business leaders here in this city, this province, and this country. I have no doubt we will. We've heard our federal government, our provincial government, and municipal leaders across this province and beyond talk about a variety of things that we need to do, that we need to bring to bear in order to be prepared, not just for the immediate proximate threat, but to strengthen Canada, to strengthen Ontario, and yes, our economy here in York Region and right here in the city of Vaughan, so that we never again find ourselves in a position of vulnerability. So what does that mean for a city like ours? Well, if you think about it, we have many, many sectors and many businesses that are potentially vulnerable and exposed to the tariff threat. I'm going to highlight two sectors in particular. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list, there are others. But if you think about the auto sector and the food and beverage sector that we have here in the city of Vaughan alone, many people, when I'm traveling or talking to other communities, don't know this. But the city of Vaughan is proudly home to one of the largest and most significant auto clusters anywhere in this province. There are 600 sector-related businesses right here in the city of Vaughan in the auto sector, employing roughly 13,000 people. That's happening right now in the city of Vaughan. Somewhere in the neighborhood, by our count, 80% of what they produce is theoretically vulnerable or exposed to the terror threat. And in the food and beverage sector, we're talking about, again, being right at the heart of that sector within the Golden Horseshoe. And there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 22,000 people employed here in the city of Vaughan working in that sector. Again, potentially exposed, potentially vulnerable. Mention the numbers, and again, let me just stress, because I'm looking around the room and I can see others who work for other companies or run other companies that are also vulnerable. There's a tremendous amount that we excel at here in the city of Vaughan that is at risk. I mention all of this to say, not to be scary, not to make anyone feel bad about what might be coming as early as next week, but to remind ourselves and to remind our friends at the federal and provincial level that now is the time for us to move beyond the rhetoric and actually take concrete economic steps to protect ourselves now, to protect and support our businesses, our jobs, and our local economy now, but also set ourselves up again to never, never again be in the position where we're stuck like we are right now. We know, for example, reducing, if not eliminating, interprovincial trade barriers, critically important. We also know diversifying trade, so that while we want to rely on a friend and an ally and a partner south of the border, that we don't necessarily always have all of our eggs, or so many of our eggs, in that one basket. But I will tell you, I have been hearing about the diversification of trade, diversification of trade and the reduction or elimination of interprovincial trade barriers for as long as I've been involved in government and politics. That's nearly 40 years. This is the moment, and I want to stress this, where we need to move beyond the talk. And our federal, provincial, and yes, regional and local governments need to find a way to work together to stop the talk, to stop the rhetoric, and to make these things happen so that Canadians can have faith and confidence that our economy is strong, and it is, but that it's strong enough to withstand challenges. And here's what we're doing to illustrate why it's so important to us on Vaughan Council. Many of you will know every single municipality in Ontario is a large purchaser, a purchaser of products and a purchaser of goods and services through our procurement policies. Every municipality is bound by different agreements, CFTA, CETA, and others. Right now, every municipality, or at least many municipalities across Ontario, are looking into what can be done to update and reform procurement policies so we are supporting locals. So we are using your tax dollars to support local jobs and local businesses. Here in Vaughan, our council gave direction to our staff back on February the 5th, from what I remember, to come back to us with a report that would in fact reform our procurement so that we can be the first, if not among the first, municipalities in Ontario to have a procurement policy in place that prioritizes Canadian businesses, Canadian jobs, Canadian investment, so that our country, our province, and our city always remain first, and we're going to make that happen. So that's a bit of the economic story. And I know it's a lot more complex and goes an awful lot deeper than what I just described. But I felt it was important on behalf of my colleagues in our city to let you know that we are not asleep at the switch. That as a team, we are doing everything possible to make sure that we are ready for what might come next. So here's the second half of what I want to talk about. And this one, as I said off the top, this one is a little bit more existential, or esoteric, if I can say that to me. This is something I've been thinking about literally since the very first moment that I came across the coverage that suggested President Trump, before he was inaugurated, was musing about Canada becoming the 51st state, and was referring to our Prime Minister as the governor of the great 51st state. Now, I don't have any particular unique insight or line of sight into exactly what the tactical reasons are that the American president may be saying these things. It's entirely possible that it's a bargaining position. It's entirely possible that he's saying it because of some personal animosity. It's entirely possible that it's just part of, I guess, the gamesmanship of politics. It's also possible that he is literally and legitimately trying to turn many, many decades of a positive, productive, constructive, respectful partnership and relationship between our country and the United States of America on its head. It's possible that he's decided to move away from what's worked so well for the Western world, not just for North America, but the Western world for many decades, and moving towards a foreign policy that's more about spheres of influence. I don't know. I don't think any one of us knows for sure. The issue to me, though, as the mayor of this city and as a proud dad of 2 daughters, someone who was born in this country, someone whose parents came here, my dad in 1958, my mom in 1961, from Italy and Scotland, respectively. They chose this country for different reasons, but fundamentally because they knew whether they were being reunited with family in my dad's case or coming with 3 other girlfriends at the age of 20 with no family here in my mother's case, they knew that this country offered something that their home countries in that era were not able to offer them. And what this country offered them, and I suspect it offered this to every single person in this room or to your parents or grandparents, it offered them a real shot. It offered them a real chance. No guarantees of success, but a real shot and a real chance and a real opportunity. If you worked hard, if you sacrificed, if you were dedicated, if you played by the rules, that you could get ahead, that you could achieve. That if you chose to get married and start a family, as my parents thank goodness did, that the family that you raised here could also do well and achieve. And it's fascinating to me, because I was born in July of 1973. Think about this for a second. July of 1973, if our daughters were here, especially our younger daughter, she would roll her eyes at what I'm going to say next. July 1973, a mere 28 years after the end of the Second World War. Only 10 months after Paul Henderson scored his iconic goal in the Summit Series so that our national hockey team could beat the Soviets. 28 years after the end of the Second World War, 29 years after thousands of Canadians, brave Canadians, came ashore at Juno Beach, lost their lives on D-Day to help liberate Europe and again help end the Second World War. I mention this not to just sort of take you through a bit of a history lesson. I mention this because for my entire life, this notion of loving Canada, being patriotic, believing passionately that we are the greatest country in the world, a country that believes in tolerance and dignity for one another, looks out for one another during good times and more challenging times, a country that protects one another. This deeply held patriotism and a belief and a love in our nationalism, it was never, ever in doubt for me. And I believe it's never really been in doubt for so many others of my generation, or those who came before me, my parents, my grandparents, and others. And I'm looking around the room, and I know there are many here today that are roughly my age, some just a little bit younger, some different ages, but I suspect most of you would agree. Even on those days over the last couple of decades where you haven't really been sure that Canada's living up to its promise, or maybe something bad happened, or maybe business investment didn't work out the way you wanted it to. I'm sure there may be moments where some doubts have crept in, but fundamentally, I think the lion's share of us, again, of my generation, or the ones that came before, never questioned never questioned Canada's sovereignty. But here's what I came across in January as I was thinking about this. Is it still the same for the next cohort? Is it still the same for people like my daughters who are coming up through the system now? I'm going somewhere with all of this, I promise you. But two pieces of information, two data points that I came across in January that have had me thinking about this pretty regularly. Here's the first one. There were two big polls done in January to track public opinion about this notion of the 51st state. And by and large, that public opinion information tracked that, again, for generations like mine, and those a little bit older, the numbers were pretty solid. This idea of 51st state stopped at Canadian sovereignty holding firm. But here's the part that quite literally kept me up at night after I saw these stats. Ready for this? An Ipsos global poll found, this is in January, it's not 10 years ago, not 2 years ago, just a month ago, that 43% of 18 to 34-year-olds would choose to become American under certain circumstances. Now, I will admit, I want to be honest about this, those circumstances were relating to assets and Canadian versus US dollars and a few other things, purely economic. But 43% of 18 to 34-year-olds, that's one poll. The second one was an Abacus poll taken around the same period of time that said 46% of respondents under the age of 30 are open to the concept of Canada joining the United States to some degree. Let those numbers sink in for a second. Nearly half of the respondents representing the generation under the age of 30, to my way of thinking, has had their faith and confidence in Canada and what we offer in this country shaken to the point where they are open to a concept that would have been a thought that would have been forbidden when I was that age. Not just forbidden. It would never have been something that entered my mind to embrace. So, because at this stage of my life and political career, I've become very introspective and thoughtful. And a lot of what I think about these days as leader of this city, I do it through the lens of the life that my daughters will, we hope, our daughters will be able to lead. The question to us, to me, is why is this the case? Now, I don't have enough time at the podium here today to delve into every single aspect of why we find the youngest in our society questioning Canadian sovereignty now. I don't have that time. I do want to put forward a couple of ideas, and the ideas in particular in this regard, I believe, are the obligation and responsibility of those inside of government to figure out. And that's true, I believe, at every single level. I believe that the youngest amongst us are unsure about the future of this country, this province, and this city, to be blunt, because there are several key issues. Things that were never in doubt a generation ago. Things that were right at the heart of the Ontario and Canadian dream that our parents, I will say in a good way, took for granted. What I said a moment ago, you work hard, you pay your dues, you sacrifice, you can afford a home, you can find a job that's stable, you can have a safety net that will work for you should the need arise. There are so many things that we do inside of government, so well-intentioned, so many great ideas. But I think in the last number of years, and I'm not picking on any one level of government or any one particular leader or party, I'm not. This applies broadly, and I will take my share of culpability here as someone who's been elected for a number of years in this community. I think there is a feeling of hopelessness and a lack of confidence that when we make big commitments for the people of our city in this case, that we are able to successfully execute and follow through. In other words, on the public side of the equation, we have lost the ability to consistently get the job done. And I don't mean all the grandiose plans. I don't mean all the massive things. I'm talking about the fundamentals and the basics. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I believe passionately that here in the city of Vaughan, we deliver exceptional services. But just think about the information that flows out to the youngest amongst us. We live in a northern climate. We get winter. We get snow. We all know that we get snow. It's not easy to navigate, but we know we get it. And when we're bombarded with information that tells us that the largest city in this country, the largest city, the capital city of this province, needs 3 weeks to clean up after a snowstorm, what does that do to our confidence that we have a collective ability to deliver? When massive transit projects, and again, I take my share of responsibility, I was Minister of Transportation for 3 years. When massive transportation projects are promised, and tended to, and worked on, and under construction forever, and ever, and ever, and gridlock's getting worse, and worse, and worse. What are we doing to boost the confidence of those who will be coming next? Leaders who will populate rooms like this one, to tell them it's important to stay here and it's important to invest here. When it is simply no longer affordable to buy a home anywhere in the greater Toronto and Hamilton area because prices have skyrocketed, including fees and taxes levied by all levels of government. We are effectively telling my daughters and the thousands of others like them that we're not on their side, that they have to fend for themselves, that they can scroll through TikTok and they can see allegedly that a house in Texas costs $200,000 or $300,000. And I see some of you smiling because you've probably seen those TikTok videos too. Here's where I'm going with all of this. It's not to be down about Canada, Ontario, or Vaughan. I'm not. I assure you I am not. I have limitless faith and confidence in our ability, when we harness our capacity the right way, to make exceptional things happen. But for those of us who have the honor of serving in elected office inside government, and our companions who work in the public service, in order to make sure that we are protecting and preserving and strengthening Canadian sovereignty, we need to find a way to do what we say we are going to do and to deliver progress for the people we are supposed to be representing. And that is the greatest weapon that we have at our disposal to make sure that this notion of the 51st state is no longer something even thought of or potentially embraced by my daughters and some like them. And here in the city of Vaughan, starting long before this threat came from the White House, we were already working, and we are working on your behalf, in 2 or 3 critically important areas: housing and shelter. Frank talked about it. The second municipality in Ontario after Burlington to reduce development charges, but we did more than Burlington, and now, as you all know, the city of Mississauga has followed suit. 50% off, 2-year deferral, interest-free, and a series of other measures. And why? Because as I said a moment ago, the cost of housing to me is the most important proxy symbol for what we are doing to fail the next generation. We have to do more, and I sincerely hope that other mayors around this region and across the GTHA, other mayors and councils will work with the province and the federal government to accept the responsibility we have. Because we are long past the point where we can push this ball further down the field, where we can point fingers at another level of government or the Bank of Canada or private industry. No. No one entity is to blame for this challenge. No one level of government or entity will solve it on its own. It is going to require an all-hands-on-deck moment, working together to make it happen. And I want you to know, on housing here in the city of Vaughan, we are doing everything we possibly can to make that progress and to deliver results for the next generation. I think about community safety, and I said this earlier. I love being in a room with your regional police and our other first responders. But at the end of the day, if you want to talk about shaking people's confidence and whether they should stay or go or become another state, fundamental to it is our personal safety. Now, we've had a rough go over the last couple of years. Good news, the trends are starting to improve in some critically important areas: auto theft, home break-ins, and elsewhere. But we still have so much to do. That's why I'm thrilled that we have partnered with other levels of government, with YRP, 2 substations, one in the VMC that's already open, one coming in Kleinburg that'll be opening up next month. Record investments from York Region to support the exceptional work that our police and first responders do to help keep us safe. That's another proof point. Here's another one for you. Community safety is fundamental, but so is community decency. Now, I'm someone who grew up as a child of the Charter. I believe in the fundamental right to protest. But I also believe that the framers, the authors of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, while they recognize that we have those inalienable rights and freedoms, we also have obligations to one another to maintain civil decency, to be respectful of one another. That's why here in the city of Vaughan, we were the first municipality to bring forward a bylaw to protect vulnerable social infrastructure, our hospital, childcares, schools, and places of worship. Not because we don't support the right to protest peacefully, we do, it's fundamental. But we also have an obligation to one another, to be decent, to be respectful. Again, I will tell you, these are things that were not questioned when I was a kid. They are questioned more today than ever before, and that's why it's so important for communities to stand up and to deliver, and that's what we're doing here in the city of Vaughan. And the last proof point is, of course, my favorite one of all time. Transportation and roads. Now, you might say to yourself, Jesus, Dudley, but what the hell is transportation and roads? What does that have to do with maintaining Canadian sovereignty? Well, it does. If you're talking about confidence and faith no longer being as strong as it needs to be. Because as long as I've lived in the GTHA, 52 years almost, we have never collectively successfully dealt with the traffic gridlock that cripples our economy potentially and truly erodes and corrodes our quality of life. We have to find a way to stop simply making promises and commitments with big dollar values and then taking year after year after year after year or a decade to actually deliver the road project, the transit, whatever else it happens to be. Here in the city of Vaughan, in a very short period of time, thanks to our council and our exceptional staff and many private sector partners, the roads, for example, that we committed to are under construction. They will come to fruition this term of council and early next term of council, and there are more coming. Vaughan is not a perfect community, but unlike so many others, we are a community, we are a city that puts our money where our mouth is, that is focused on progress, not simply process, that is determined to deliver results, not simply more rhetoric, that is important for our business community, that is important for our residents and their quality of life. But I am telling you, I am telling all of you, that it is the single greatest insurance policy. Government finding a way at all levels and in all communities to get stuff done, good stuff done. It is the single greatest insurance policy to make sure that my daughters and the thousands of others like them across the city, province, and country never, ever, ever have a shadow of a doubt about whether or not they live in the greatest country in the world, because they do. And it would be an epic failure on our part if we did not give them that opportunity to have what I've had, what so many of us have had, which is that unshakable faith and confidence in this country. We are here in the city of Vaughan, a city on the move, and that is thanks to you, our people. We will not turn away from this challenge. When the chips are down and the stakes are high, the people in this room and the people across this community always rise to the challenge. We will do so again. We will make it happen. And I promise you, as mayor with this council, we will deliver results for you. Thank you very much for being here.
Inspiring State of the City address. Just a footnote, as you were alluding to, Mayor,
There is breaking news now that Trump pushes 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico for April 2nd. So, yeah. Okay, our main entree is being served, ladies and gentlemen.